We are Onyx Imaging. We are the highest rated and most reviewed printer service center in Oklahoma.
Hi, my name is John with Onyx Imaging. Today we're going to take a look at a couple common causes for paper jams for HP LaserJet M277. So most paper jam issues we're going to look at today are all caused somewhere inside the paper tray. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to remove the paper tray. And now that I have the paper tray out, I'm going to take the paper out just to get a better look inside of it. So we'll get that out of here. And now if you look inside this paper tray, you'll notice there's all these little paper size adjusters. It's extremely important to make sure they're all set for the exact size paper that you're using. So in our case, we're using a standard 8.5 by 11 or letter paper. So we want to make sure that all of our size indicators are set for 8.5 by 11 or letter. If you have it either too tight or smaller than that, it can cause the paper to be too tight inside the paper tray, and it's going to have a hard time pulling through the printer. Also, it can tell the printer that there's a smaller paper size than what's really inside this paper tray, and that's going to cause issues as well. Just the same, if you have this too far back, say you moved it back as you're adding paper just to make it a little bit easier, and you forgot to put it back on its setting for the 8.5 by 11, it's going to cause the paper to be too loose inside the paper tray. And again, it can cause some confusion inside the printer about what size paper is actually inside this paper tray. So it's extremely important to make sure that all your paper size indicators are exactly on the mark for the 8.5 by 11 or whichever size paper you're using. So once you have that all checked out and you make sure that everything's on its correct setting, I'm going to look at your stack of paper that's actually inside the paper tray. One of the things that's really common to happen is when people add paper to the paper tray, what will happen is you slide it in, it'll actually push one or a couple pieces of paper to the back of the paper tray and curl up. So what happens then is it causes the paper to get way too tight inside of the paper tray, and also makes it so the paper doesn't pull through the printer properly, causing your paper jams. So it's very important to make sure that whenever you add paper into the paper tray, that all four sides are a nice even stack and there's no paper curl on any side. So it's very important that to check whenever you add paper. It only takes a few seconds just to make sure that it's a nice clean stack on all four sides. And then one of the other common things we see is actually overfilling the paper tray. And obviously nobody likes to have to stop in the middle of something to add paper into the paper tray. But what happens is sometimes people try to shove as much paper as humanly possible inside of this thing. And if you look at all these little paper size adjusters, there's a little maximum fill line, a little flag that sticks out telling you the maximum amount of paper to put inside this tray. And if you just try to shove it up underneath there and you're trying to max it out as much as you can actually cause there to be too much paper inside of this paper tray, and it just doesn't pull through the printer properly. It's too high and it's just not going to work. So usually I recommend whenever you fill the paper tray to just leave a small gap between the top sheet of paper and these little maximum fill flags on the paper size indicators. That'll just eliminate that issue altogether. Unfortunately, you'll probably have to add paper a little bit more frequently, but you're not going to have to get up and clear paper jams constantly either. So it actually ends up saving a lot of time and effort. One of the other common causes for paper jams is actually inside of the paper tray in the printer, and it's just a normal routine maintenance issue where the rollers that actually pull the paper through the printer, they do wear out and they do need to get changed. So if you've had the printer for a while and you've used it pretty heavily and you've never had it maintenance, there's a good chance the rollers could be worn and need to be replaced. If that's the case, please feel free to reach out to Onyx. We'd be glad to help you out with that. If you're still having some problems, please feel free to reach out to Onyx. We'd be glad to help you out with those as well. Other than that, we hope you have a great day and you're back up and printing. Thank you.
Thank you for watching. If you're interested in how you can receive free labor on all of your service calls, as well as how to qualify for free printer upgrades, contact us today. We are here for all of your printer and office supply needs.